only 41% of voters approve of his handling of the economic recovery, and a whopping 69% of Americans disapprove of how Biden is handling inflation, with only 28% who do approve. And according to 538, as of December 14th, Joe Biden's average approval rating is 42.9%, and his disapproval is at 50.7%. Compare that with President Trump's approval rating. During the same time last year, he was at 43.5% approval. And this was the month after Trump started his attempt to contest the election results, that inflation rose 6.8% in November. That's the fastest rate since 1982. And on December 14th, the Labor Department reported that wholesale prices rose 9.6% compared to a year ago. That's the largest increase on record. Yet the actual unemployment rate isn't at record lows. In fact, it's not even close to what it was 2 years ago pre-pandemic. But instead of Democrats addressing those issues, let's celebrate a meaningless number about jobless claims during the holiday season.
To me, we have the strongest economy perhaps I have ever seen. See that number this morning, the unemployment number? It's the best in years. It's not best since '69.
It does feel like every week there's another poll. It's a new bottom. It's a new this. And some of it is out of their control. His two big promises were to get COVID behind us and to get rid of Donald Trump. COVID's not behind us and Donald Trump's still lurking.
I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. As I said before, I'll shut down the virus. I've said it before. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to ask the public for 100 days to mask. Just 100 days to mask. Not forever, 100 days.
Then, 114 days after entering office, Biden announced the following.
If you've been fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. Let me repeat. If you are fully vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask.
Then, during a July 4th photo op, he celebrated our independence from the virus.
245 years ago, we declared our independence from a distant king. Today, we are closer than ever to declaring our independence from a deadly virus. While the virus hasn't been vanquished, we know this: it no longer controls our lives. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
But I was told that the virus no longer controls our lives.
Please wear your mask when you're indoors, in public settings, around other people.
And then on December 14th, Joe Biden said this about the unvaccinated.
And so everybody talks about freedom and not to have a shot or have a test. Well, guess what? How about patriotism? How about making sure that you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anybody else?
Our vaccines are working exceptionally well. They continue to work well for Delta with regard to severe illness and death. They prevent it. But what they can't do anymore is prevent transmission.
Is now at a record low.
There's this portrayal of what's happening in America as, a catastrophe. That's why we're playing the Armageddon trailer. And I think that word catastrophe, it's apropos for far too much of the partisan media coverage of what's going on in the U.S. right now. Always jumping to the absolute worst case scenario. This new variant being the latest example. Always assuming the worst. Fox and the anti-Biden media are exaggerating real problems.
CNN deaths COVID. 800,000 total COVID deaths, according to Johns Hopkins. Daughter says dad dies of COVID death. 700,000 COVID deaths. 1 in 100 seniors have died of COVID. Bombshell about COVID deaths. U.S. COVID deaths surge. Hear emotional stories. Experts confirm COVID deaths massively inflated. Actual numbers dramatically lower than officially count.
Without any proof, without any evidence, without even playing a clip, Brian Stelter, media watchdog, claims that Fox News is exaggerating the effect of the Omicron variant. Really?
By now you've probably heard of the terrifying new coronavirus variant that has left the continent of Africa a smoldering husk of human misery. Experts are calling it the Omicron variant, Omicron being a Greek term that apparently means history-ending apocalypse.
Huh. I guess we need to point out to Brian Stelter that Tucker Carlson was being sarcastic. Okay, next clip.
Now, this new Omicron variant, sadly, it is now officially here, confirmed in the U.S. Thankfully, this new strain of COVID, according to early reports, causes mild symptoms, although it may be more contagious. And while I always encourage everyone to take the pandemic seriously, there is, as of today, no reason to panic.
And the doctor who found this in South Africa said, "I am absolutely flabbergasted at the extraordinary reaction of everyone in the world over the hysteria that this is causing in the markets, and now they're blaming it on the supply chain and all of the impact it's having on people." Here's the bottom line. Enough of this. We know how to live with it. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. I'm very careful. I'm older. But at the same time, enough of this.
Fox and the anti-Biden media are exaggerating real problems. Kind of like the way a toddler turns an innocent bump in the night into a nightmare about a scary monster under the bed. You know, yes, there's a real bump in the night, but there is no monster.
U.S. coronavirus deaths surpassed 100,000. U.S. cases and hospitalizations surging in U.S. Indiana coronavirus deaths. The U.S. surpasses 150,000 coronavirus deaths. The country's COVID rate is the world highest. COVID-19 predicts deaths may triple mid-January. U.S. surpasses 200,000 coronavirus deaths. Lost husband, COVID-19 story, bring you to tears. And the virus can't even kill 1 million people in a country with over 100 million people. Real deadly. And they're inflating the death. Imagine if someone had said these words in October. In the midst of everything COVID, people were sort of putting down that the cause of death as COVID. It is important to go back and do this accounting to see if COVID was actually the cause of death.
They brought Joe Biden on to talk about his Build Back Better scam.
And I know you've been working hard on the Build Back Better plan. Do you think that this will pass the Senate before the year?
Well, I hope it will. You know, I don't have a single Republican vote right now to pass it.
How much do you pay attention to approval ratings?
Well, not anymore. No, I'm joking. I was paying attention in the mid-60s.
Fact check false. Joe Biden has never been in the mid-60s. In fact, Biden's highest average approval rating was 55%, and that was only within a week of his inauguration.
A lot has happened. And look, people are afraid. People are worried. And people are getting so much inaccurate information to them. I don't mean about me, but I mean about their situation.
Announced a plan to help lower gas prices by tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
50 million barrels of oil will be released from the nation's strategic reserves. That's a drop in the bucket, since the U.S. uses about 18 million barrels a day. That was news to the Energy Secretary.
How many barrels of oil does the U.S. consume per day? I don't have that number in front of me, sorry.
Thanks, Joe Biden, with a graphic that shows a 1.5 cent dip from November 22nd to November 29th.
A big economic relief for millions of Americans who have been dealing with soaring energy prices. Cost at the pump finally easing up, with the national average for a gallon of regular falling to $3.35, the lowest since October. Just look at that.
The cringe is real, guys. So real that Don Lemon is praising the heavens that the national average cost of gasoline fell 4 cents in a week.
Austin, can we just celebrate the good news? Good to see you. Can we just celebrate this some good news just for a minute? I'll take it where I can get it.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself because I filled my tank just a few days ago. It was $64 when I filled up my tank, and I should have waited.
Yeah.
Oh man, if he only filled up his tank a week later, he could have saved as much as 76 cents.
You know, when you show up at a gas station and it's $3.50 at your pump, although now because I took 50 million barrels out of the they call the oil petroleum reserve. The gasoline is down below $3 in many places. It's going to come down. It's going to move.
So how much has it come down? Well, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, 3 weeks after Biden tapped into the oil petroleum reserve, the national average cost for a gallon of gas fell 8 cents.